At a time when sales are under pressure, wine tourism is one of the few bright spots. But even there, we have to answer a few key questions. The most important one is how do we attract, it's no longer how do we attract people, but how we turn visits into value. So, to answer that, we have to ask us, what are people really looking for? What are they willing to pay? And how can wineries make a serious, profitable business without losing the magic? I am Anja Zimmer. I'm a lawyer by training, a wine journalist by choice. Together with my partner Alexandra Fran and our agency A2 Wine and Things, we have curated this stage. And I'm very happy to welcome our first speaker of this session, Professor Dr. Gergely Szolnoki from Geisenheim University. He is one of the international researchers in this field. He looks into wine tourism, consumer behavior, and wine economics. He combines academic depth with practical experiences and gives talks at wine tourism conferences around the world. And we are really happy that he's here today to present us his groundbreaking study about what wineries need to do in these times. The floor is yours.
Anja, thank you very much for your kind words. Ladies and gentlemen, warm welcome. Of course, last day, last Agora session, but I'm still happy that at least some of you appeared here, sitting around, looking forward to the results. So, yeah, as you can see behind me, I'm going to talk about the results of an international study we conducted last year. But before we start with this, please allow me to start with these negative headlines. You all know that right now we have some difficulties, like some troubles and very bad times in the wine industry. Not in the wine tourism industry, but generally in the wine industry. And as you can see, not only in Europe, not only overseas, but on a global level, let's say. And why I'm talking about this, I'm not saying that wine tourism is the ultimate solution, and with wine tourism we can solve all the problems of the wine industry. No, of course not. But wine tourism is definitely one of the solutions we should consider just to save a little bit the brightful wine world. This slide is supposed to tell you the transformation process of wine tourism in the last 20-25 years, let's say. So this is a very typical picture back to 15, 20, 25 years ago. Europe, small wineries, yeah, wine freaks sitting around the table and focus 100% on wine, yeah. But as you know, the world has changed, and also the world of wine tourism has changed, and the transformation goes into the direction entertainment and happiness and well-being. Not only 100% focus on wine. Wine is also, of course, at the table, but having other things around and beyond wine. And this is the part I'm going to talk about in the next several minutes. And actually, summarizing the first two slides, I would say wine is not longer always in the central focus. It's always there because you talk about wine tourism, yeah, not spirit tourism or horse tourism or whatever. Yeah, wine is there, but not always in the first row, probably in the second or the third row. Okay. As you know, when you want to run and when to try to develop and envelop your wine tourism business, you need data. You need statistics, you need positive examples and even negative examples from all over the world. Where to find it? Definitely not in ChatGPT. Yeah? You can find it nowhere. That's the reason we started this study with some main international institutions. As you can see, the logos here, UN Tourism, OIV, Great Wine Capitals, and winetourism.com, and me from Geisenheim University. And the main aim of this study was to provide data, recent statistics, recent data, and best practice examples, what wineries from all around the world offer to their visitors. And then we managed to collect data from more than 1,300 wineries worldwide, and we were able to segment the results and analyze by origin, comparing new world with old world, and by size of the wineries. Due to lack of time, I'm not going to go very much in detail of these things. I just wanted to show you that what we've done. Okay, I mentioned already that one of the main reasons we started with this study, or we conducted this study, was to get ideas what wineries on the other side of the world operating with and dealing with. And then the first point is activities. So let's talk about the offerings. So well, this is the first picture I show you. People sitting around the table and drinking wine. Of course, wineries offer wine-related activities like wine tasting, vineyard tour, cellar tour. Of course, the very basics, let's say. And more than 70% of the wineries offer 2 of these. These are again the basic, but fortunately, there is also offerings beyond these basic offerings, like culinary food, offering accommodations, different kind of accommodations, sporty activities. I wrote there hiking and cycling, but of course yoga is also part of this. And on the other hand, some cultural events, digital solutions, and last but not least, personalized, authentic experiences. Yeah, it will be even interesting or more exciting when I show you the share or shares of different of these different offerings. As you can see, wine and food pairing. 50% of the wineries participated in this survey offer wine and food pairing. Why is it important? Why is it interesting? You don't always necessarily need a restaurant, yeah, to offer food as well. You can combine it with wine, small pieces of food, so finger food, that's completely enough. On the other hand, culture, music and arts. In this case, yeah, okay, I mentioned to you, wine is not always anymore in the focus of wine tourism activities and wine tourism. In this case, wine is definitely in the second or the third row, because in the first row is a concert, exhibitions, whatever, yeah? These things like music and art, they work as a magnet, yeah, on a magnetic point. They bring people and attract people to bring you to a winery, but they are not necessarily crazy about wine, or wine lovers, or whatever, yeah, or wine nerds, yeah? It could be normal people, but when or because these events take place at the winery, of course, wine is also there. Yeah? Or what you can see here is not so easy to read. Personal experiences. Meet the winemaker. Mainly European wineries, mainly small wineries. Okay? Or private events. When you visit a wedding that is organized at a winery, you don't visit a wedding because you are a wine nerd. Definitely not. But you are there and you're going to drink wine. And probably, if the wedding was nice, you will imprint this experience and the name of the winery in your brain. And the last one, which I would say it is a quite unique offering, or one kind of unique among the offerings, is targeting families. Yeah. So back to 15, 20 years ago, there was nothing for children. Yeah. And that's the reason they exclude a little bit also this kind of target group when it came to wine tourism experiences. Now wineries realize that it would be also interesting to attract people with small or larger children. Of course, not offering wine, but there are also other options how you can entertain also children at a winery. So, summarizing this slide, classic forms. Okay, these are in the middle, or classic formats, these are in the middle, wine tasting and things, but there are also some new innovative offerings rising. So let's talk about numbers, and let's talk about wine tourism business, Because I think at the end of the day, this is the most important thing, profitability. And more than 60% of the wineries we reached framework of this survey stated that their wine tourism business is profitable. Yeah, another 30% said we reached the break-even point, and less than 10% said we are not profitable. So profitability is definitely a part of economic sustainability. So if you don't have a profitable wine tourism business, then close it. Now, before you close it, please check the opportunities. How can you restructure? How can you redo things and reconsider rethink things? Start it again. It's still not profitable. Then just close it, please, because it doesn't make sense to deal with this. There is one result that surprised us very much, and it was the answer to the question, what is the proportion of the revenue that is based on wine tourism business? Yeah, and generally this is the average. Wineries set 25%. Yeah, and when you consider selling wine or selling wine tastings, vineyard tours, and things like this, it doesn't make sense 25%. And the main reason wineries said that it's 25% is because in the head of the wineries, wine tourism and direct sales is the same. Or this is not the same, but they are very much and very closely connected. So that's the reason this is also includes, of course, direct sales. And looking at the differences between overseas and Europe, you can see overseas, because they have a completely other wine business model, and they're applying this model very successfully. The share is much higher than in European countries. And in terms of size, we can see that for small wineries, wine tourism, and of course, with wine tourism, the direct sales are more important than for larger wineries. So let's talk about the visitors. When we create categories like Europe, median, or overseas median, we can see here, and in Europe, approximately 1,000 visitors annually, and overseas, 4,000. It has also something to do with the size of the wineries participated in the survey. In general, in overseas, we have bigger wineries. But interestingly, and these small triangles, they show the tendency of the participants. It's in Europe, increasing tendency, overseas, decreasing tendencies. Okay? And another interesting thing is the share of foreign visitors and domestic visitors. Of course, this result, it depends on which part of the world, in which country and in which region you conduct your survey. In Germany, it would look like 85% domestic and the remaining 15% are foreign visitors. Let's talk about age. This is what everyone knows. The golden age, talking about visitors between 45 and 65, they are at place number 1. So these are more established people having a little bit more money. Children are not small anymore, but grown up. So they are in the very first place everywhere in the world. Fortunately, on the second place, what you can see here, there's a younger generation. Okay, so the second place. Another result that surprised us very much is we asked the wineries, okay, what is the share of the wine freaks actually you have at your winery? And then they said 6%. Yeah, let's give another 15 or 20% of those they have an above average knowledge and involvement in terms of wine tourism. We still reach only 1/3. Okay, and then remaining 2/3 they are laymen. So they are not experts. Why is it important? Because you have to find the language, yeah, with wine freaks, so well-educated people in terms of wine, and also with laymen. And this is also a challenge in the wine tourism industry, to entertain them and to find the right language. And some changes in the wine tourism industry, wineries said or stated happened in the last year is visitors are more interested in wine education, culinary and food, as I already mentioned, sustainability, I'm going to talk about it a little bit later, and younger travelers. So, very quickly summarized, wine tourism industry and wine tourism business could be profitable, and if you do a good job, and it is, and there is a huge contribution, a significant contribution when it comes to the total revenue. Okay, let's talk about trends, because one of the aim of this study has been also to define and describe trends. I don't want to bother you with lots of different trends, so that's the reason we selected 4 main trends. We could filter out based on the question, on the answers of the wineries. Culinary and food appeared here in my presentation for the 3rd time. So remember this. Authentic experience, sustainability, and use of social media. When you remember one of the very first slides, it was already culinary and authentic experiences been already integrated into the offerings. So the industry realized that these 2 things are important, but there is a lack, there is a missing place for sustainable developments. It will be more the future of wine tourism, and use of social media, more intensive use of social media. It doesn't mean that wineries don't use social media. Of course they do, but it looks like that they said the trend shows even more usage. And based on this, we asked also them, what do they think about innovations? What kind of innovation do they want to apply in the future? There are more than 15 different innovation directions. Again, also here we selected the most interesting and the most important, most relevant ones, like storytelling, part of the communication. How do I talk? How do I find the language, yeah, to the visitors? Wine and food for the 4th time. Yeah. Sustainability, personalized experiences, and education. Just very briefly, let's talk about education. If visitors come to your winery, they don't want just having fun and enjoying life and things like this. They want to learn also something. But the question is how much they do want to learn. This is what you have to find out as a staff member of the winery. And there are some supportive elements or results as part of the involvement. The innovation is, again, using more social media, introducing e-booking system, just to have a little bit more scheduled program, and go for collaboration. Okay, so what you can see here, authentic and digital technologies. So, at the end of my presentation, let's talk about sustainability. Okay, something what you've never heard about before, probably. What I wanted to share with you, and this is actually quite a positive result, is wineries recognize, of course, the role and the importance of sustainability or sustainable development of wine tourism business in the future. This is what you can see here. But when you ask them whether they think that the visitors also realize this importance, they would say, not really. But in 5 years, definitely. So what does it mean? The future should be sustainable. There is no way, no development without sustainability in the wine tourism, also in the wine tourism business, let's say. Of course, it's quite complicated because you need also here, you need a kind of guideline. This is what we detected. It was not so complicated to detect and to realize. Some years ago, we created a working group with UN Tourism and OIV, and we're working on a guideline that contains kind of measure catalog for wineries that shows wineries how to start, where to start with sustainable development wine tourism. So investment in wine tourism, and this is also part of the future. More than 50% of the wineries in our sample, more than 1,000 wineries worldwide, said yes, I'm gonna invest for sure in wine tourism in the future. Another 1/3, they are still considering it. And the part of they said no is really small. And one of the main results is what you can see here actually, is more than 70% of these wineries worldwide are expecting a kind of growing tendency in the field of wine tourism. And this is pretty positive, even if it's a kind of social expected answer, of course, but I think it's pretty positive results. So, don't expect from me that I'm gonna summarize here all the results. At the end, I would like to show you some recommendations. And just concentrate on 4 different recommendations. The first one is educate your staff so that they know how to communicate with the visitors. The other one, destination marketing. This is not the micro, this is a macro level of wine tourism. Different regions, they have different wineries, and they have to work together, okay? Then the other one, diversification. As I already showed to you, there are different ways to create the offering and to create a diverse offering system in your winery. Go for it. There are some examples. And last but not least, this is what I already mentioned, sustainability. That's the future. Please put a focal point on this. So these were results I'll show you of an international survey. Here you can download the final report and the summary as well. Anya is standing beside me, so it means my time is up. Thank you. Okay, I've got time to answer some questions.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
So, are there any, so thank you very much. First, this was really enlightening. So, and it's so much information, you still have to process it probably, but are there any questions? Yes, over there's one.
Thank you. Victor, my name is Victor. Question is, finally, depending on maybe your experience, what you are selling more, wine or tourism? In this cross-selling business, finally it will be difficult to separate.
Yeah, thank you very much. Actually, the tourism experience should sell wine, especially for laymen. Of course, wine freaks, as I would say, so all of you and me as well. So they are very into wine and visiting wineries mainly because of wine. For us, is this entertainment part is more a plus, a little bit more benefit than drinking only wine. But actually, the wine tourism experience should lead us or lead the visitors to sell more or to purchase more wine.
And I've seen another one over there, yeah? Another question over there? No, please wait for the microphone.
Is there any difference in the offerings that you described in terms of profitability? So I would assume if you're offering food and stuff like that, people drink wine, right? But if you're offering cycling tours, people probably don't drink wine. So is there any experience or research in what is the most profitable offering that you should go for?
Yeah, I would disagree. Also, people, they take a bicycle, they would drink wine. They don't risk their license, driving license, not like driving a car. But yeah, what we realize is profitability has also something to do with the amount of different offerings. Don't overdo it. And this is the main motto of offerings. If you offer everything, then you do too much. Yeah, try to, and this is what the diversification I show you. One of the last slides is try to find your way, try to define your way, try to organize the offerings among this way, and then you will find the profitability there. But don't try to cover all of the different offerings, because it won't work.
One more, if there's one, otherwise we are a little bit running out of time. So no. So thank you very much for your inspiring talk. So if you had a winery and you wonder, should I start with wine tourism? One of the questions you ask yourself, or you should at least ask yourself, is what do you do with the price? So do you charge money, or do you give it away for free? Are you following the Napa model with a few $100 sometimes even for a visit, or do you follow the quite common model in Germany just to say we would like to have people there and we don't charge anything? And if you charge something, at which price? So this is the big issue in a world where we have more competition, where we have more choice for people to decide what they want to do, and where we have digital platforms who kind of guide people away or to you depending on a lot of things. This is a question we would like to tackle here. So what does the data say? How perceive visitors value? And how can you have immediate revenue at the moment, but also long-term relationship? For that, we invited Magalie Dubois. Magalie is associate professor at Burgundy School of Business in Dijon, and she leads the bachelor specialization, oh my God, in wine tourism. Today is not my day, sorry. So she combines, on the one hand side, academic research, but also a lot of business experience, because she worked for as an export manager internationally. So she brings insights from a study she did for great wine capitals, and from that she will tell us what would be the best way for a winery to charge or not to charge their customers. Thank you.
Thank you very much for inviting me. So let me start with a question. How many of you charge for their wine tourism experience? Okay. How many of you offer them for free? Okay, not many winemakers in the room, apparently. But here's what's interesting. Both groups probably second-guess that decision regularly. If you charge, you may wonder, am I turning away potential customers? Should I be more accessible? If you don't, you may wonder, am I leaving money on the table? Should I be capturing revenue from all these visitors? You came to this Agora because you have real questions about pricing and marketing for wine tourism. I have only 15 minutes, so instead of walking you through theory, I asked wineries I work with what they actually want answered, and I'm going to put their questions on the slides. So let's start with the first one. Our winery has always offered free tastings because we believe wine should be accessible and welcoming, and we're losing the soul of hospitality if we charge. Most of you face what I would call the binary pricing trap. When you charge for tastings, you generate immediate revenues, you filter out some freeloaders, but you also create a barrier to entry. You turn away curious visitors who are not sure yet if you're worth it. When you don't charge for tastings, you're accessible, you're welcoming, you're attracting everyone, including guests with zero purchase intent, who consume staff time and resources. So both strategies have merit, but both have significant drawbacks. According to a recent study, most wineries are actually struggling with wine tourism pricing. So let's be honest about the current pricing methodology across our industry. Three options really prevail for wine tourism experience. First option, you survey your region or appellation. If premium neighbors charge 50, you might position yourself at 45 or 55, depending on your offering. Second option, you calculate your all-in cost per guest, wine poured, staffing, glassware, facilities overhead. You add your target margin and you land on a number. Third option, you consider your pricing relative to the price of your most expensive wine, your direct-to-consumer program, or your overall brand positioning. All rational, all defensible. This is how most operation price globally. And some of you have gone further. So tiered pricing, offering multiple price points so that guests can choose their level of engagement. Refundable fees, charging for the tasting, but refunding with purchase to remove the barrier to buyers. Or even dynamic pricing, adjusting rates based on demand, time, or season. That's smart. But you are being more strategic than just charge for tasting. But here is the gap. None of these methods tell you what your visitors actually value. Even with tiered pricing, you're still guessing. You decide to charge, let's say, 20 for basic, 50 for premium, 100 for exclusive. But why those numbers? Because your competitors charge 45? Because you cover your costs? What if your guest would happily pay 25, 60, and 120? What if they think 50 euros is too high, and this is why only 10% of them choose premium? You don't know. You're using smarter strategies, but you're still guessing at the actual numbers. How do you discover what your specific guest actually think your experience is worth? What if you could just ask them? So, thanks to a great wine capital research grant, we tested a very simple concept at 3 wineries across Napa, Bordeaux, and Lausanne. They let their customer express how they value their wine tourism experience by paying what they wanted instead of a fixed price at the end of the visit. Over 350 guests participated. The result? In both Bordeaux and Lausanne, under the pay-what-you-want conditions, guests paid on average 15% above the standard fixed price. Hear that again. I'm not sure you understand. When given the option to pay what they wanted, even with the standard fixed price clearly visible, visitors voluntarily paid more. So what is this telling us? That those 2 wineries seem to be underpriced relative to their perceived value. So guests value the experience at 19 euros, 21 euros, and they were only being asked 16, 18. Now, imagine, for those who own a winery, imagine running this at your winery. 2 weeks, regular guests, real payment decision. Would they pay 15% more, like in the European wineries? Would they pay the same? Would they reveal you're overpriced? Now you have the opportunity to make decisions based on real data from your customers at your winery, not guesswork or competitor copying. You can align your price with what your customers value, your wine tourism experience. So you can use pay what you want as a temporary diagnostic test to gather guest value data. It will show you the gap, positive or negative, between what you charge and what customers perceive as fair value. And this is how you can build a sustainable, customer-centric pricing strategy instead of playing the escalation game with competitors. And here comes the good news. We can provide you a complete implementation toolkit. We can help you track the data properly and interpret the results. So you can just come and see me at the end of the presentation if you are interested. Now, some of you might be thinking, what if we have already raised the prices and lost visitors? Is it too late? This is exactly my next question. We tried raising our tasting fee from 15 euros to 25 euros last year, and saw a 30% drop in visitor. How do we know if we're pricing ourselves out of the market? First question would be, did your revenue go up or down? Because 30% fewer visitors at 25 euros instead of 15 is actually revenue positive, provided you increase your conversion rate on wine sales. But here's the real issue with this question. You made a 67% price increase all at once with no value communication? This is not pricing test. This is sticker shock. So here is what I would recommend instead. It's just like, use the pay what you want diagnostic I just presented to identify the gap between what you charge and what your customers perceive as fair value. Use this data to go tiered pricing. Data will help you decide if you should keep your 15 euros option as the accessible entry point and add a 35 euros premium experience and a 60 maybe exclusive experience. Now, doing this, you're not pricing anyone out, you're giving them choices based on what they value. And track these metrics, revenue per visitor and lifetime value, not just visitor count. You want profitable visits, not just volume. By optimizing pricing, this optimizing pricing only works if wine tourists can actually find you, right? So, which brings us to the next challenge. How do wine tourists actually find us? We get walk-ins, but how do we attract travelers who have never heard of our winery? Let me ask you something for those who have a winery. How many of you know exactly where your last 100 visitors heard about you? Most wineries can't answer this question. You know, some came from Airbnb, some were walk-ins, some said a friend told us about you, but most of you are not tracking your acquisition channels. And that's a problem. Because here is what's happening in the customer journey right now. Someone, let's say in Berlin, is planning a trip to your region. They're Googling, they are asking ChatGPT, they're scrolling Instagram. If you don't show up in that discovery moment, they move to the consideration stage with your competitor instead. Someone, let's say in Paris, is browsing Airbnb experience, ready to book. Your neighbor is listed, you're not. Guess who captures that conversion? So someone, for example, visited your winery last month. They loved it. This is acquisition. But you never captured their email. Now they're back in London. You have no retention strategy. No way to move from one-time customer to repeat visit or to regular buyer. No way to increase their lifetime value. So the wineries that are performing are optimizing the full funnel, from awareness to retention. They have organic visibility. They are listed on paid channels, at least one platform, even if they hate the commission. And they have a retention mechanism. Email capture, even if it's just a sign-up sheet at checkout. So they maintain this brand presence, posting occasionally on social media. It's not about being perfect everywhere. It's about having touch points where your potential guests are looking. So when I mention listing on platforms, I always get the same pushback. Platforms like Airbnb experiences take 20% commission. Isn't that too expensive? Why should we pay that when we can just use our own website? I hear this all the time, and I understand the frustration. 20% seems like a lot. But let me ask you this. How much are you currently spending to drive traffic to your website? Most wineries say nothing or very little, which means your website is getting very little traffic from wine tourists who don't already know you exist. Platforms, on the other hand, are paying for customer acquisition. They're running ads, they're optimizing for search, they're in front of travelers who are actively looking to book wine experiences right now. Think of the 20% as your marketing cost. If you had to generate the same traffic yourself through Google Ads, Facebook campaign, SEO, you would probably spend more than 20%. And still, you would get less qualified traffic. So my recommendation, use both. List on platforms for discovery and new customer acquisition, but capture emails and build direct relationships for repeat visits. This is where your margins really are, in the repeat customers who book directly. And speaking of visibility, there is a new channel that is emerging faster than most wineries realize. So visitors mentioned AI-powered discovery. What specially should we be doing to show up when people ask ChatGPT about wineries in our region? Wine tourists have completely changed how they search. Recent studies say like 75% of young Italian travelers now ask AI tools like ChatGPT for recommendations in food and wine travels. But here is what most wineries are missing. AI search works fundamentally differently from Google. A traditional search is like Napa wineries. Okay, they will click through 5 to 7 websites. They will research for a few days. AI search is which Napa wineries offer private tasting for a group of 8 with food pairing on weekends. AI gives immediate answer that results in a same-day booking. So wine tourists naturally use these detailed queries. They are planning experiences, not just looking for names. And different AI platforms, and this is important, different AI platforms prioritize different signals. So it can be your website, it can be Google, it can be TripAdvisor, it can be others. So you can't just optimize your website. You need presence across multiple platforms with consistent information. 88% of AI responses cite more than 3 sources. So content structure matters more than ever. AI needs specific details. It can synthesize and cite. So AI platforms, to put it in a nutshell, needs quotable, specific facts. So you should definitely create, if you don't have it already, you should create a frequently asked question section answering 10 to 15 common questions with detailed, when I say detailed, like really go into detail, put figures, put numbers, with detailed and specific answers. And another point that people are forgetting, freshness dramatically impacts visibility. Content older than 90 days see a 60 to 80% visibility reduction. So AI platforms discover and cite new content within days, not months. Good news for you. Wine tourism is time sensitive. You have harvest updates, you have new releases, you have seasonal events, you have current availability. So this is good for you. And reviews drive AI recommendation. AI platform, they synthesize what people say about you. So if 100+ reviews mention sunset views, AI surface this attribute when travelers search for them. Okay? So the good news, wine tourists who find you through AI are increasingly likely to convert. They're not just browsing, they have already used AI to filter their options. By the time they reach you, they're actually ready to book. But here's the challenge. If you're not tracking the right metrics, you won't even know this traffic is converting. So what should you actually be measuring? What metrics should we actually be tracking to know if our pricing and marketing strategies are working? Breaking news, you cannot optimize what you don't measure. So here are a few metrics that matter most. Revenue per visitor. We mentioned it before. Not just tasting fees, but total revenue. Tasting fee plus wine purchase plus all the shipping. This tells you if you are attracting profitable guests. Conversion rate. What percentage of your visitors actually buy a wine? It's essential. Track this over time. If it's declining, there's something wrong, either with your experience or with your pricing. And good news, when past visitors search for your winery, that brand search volume increases your AI visibility. So repeat customers make you more discoverable to new customers. And booking channel performance. We all know that customer acquisition cost is very difficult to measure accurately in wine tourism. What you can track is which channels drive the most bookings, which have the highest show-up rates, which visitors spend the most, and use that directional data to decide where to invest. And review growth. Are you adding new reviews regularly? Remember, AI platforms, they favor recent reviews, not just total count. And there is another point that most wineries don't measure, but should. Customer lifetime value. What is a customer worth over their entire relationship with you? A 50 euros first visit customer who never returns is worth for you 50 euros. But a 40 euros first time customer who joins your wine club can be worth hundreds of euros annually. So if you're only tracking the first visit revenue, you're optimizing for the wrong thing. Indeed, if you want to track lifetime value, you need a CRM that connects your tasting room, your e-commerce, your wine club, and email systems. So let me bring all this together. The wine tourism landscape is changing faster than it ever has. And the wineries that will outperform over the next 5 years will be the ones that embrace this shift. They will price based on perceived value, not just costs. They will optimize their AI discovery alongside traditional search. They will track customer lifetime value, not just visitor counts. And they will test and optimize continuously instead of copying competitors. The future of wine tourism is data-informed, customer-centric, and full of opportunities. So find me after, or connect with me on LinkedIn by scanning the QR code if you want to talk about it. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from this great audience? Yes, over there.
First of all, thank you. Just a quick question. I will take us back to the start of the presentation. Okay. In terms of pricing, should we price customers and the people who are related in the wine industry the same?
That's an excellent question. Actually, I think it's very difficult to answer if you don't have a vision of what is the behavior when they come. So did you already like make an analysis of if they behave differently? No. Okay. So I would start this way. So if I would be in your shoes and you asking yourself this question, I would start by doing statistics, like have a look at people that are coming here for the wine or people that are coming here for the experience, like are they very different? I can give you an example of, I've been working with a Napa in a Sonoma winery that is called Donham, and they have the most amazing collection of art. They have 60 big pieces. And we did an analysis of their wine club. And surprisingly, people are in the wine club for wine. However, the place is attracting a lot of visitors for art. But the retention, the wine club, is wine people. So I think when you decide to price, you need to understand very well who is your consumer and why are they coming to a winery. So South Africa, you will have examples afterwards, but South Africa is, wine tourism is lifestyle. People are here to enjoy, they come for the whole day. This is not the case in Europe. People don't spend the whole day at the winery. So I think it also depends where you're located. The philosophy of wine tourism is very different. I don't know if I'm precisely answering your question, but we can discuss about it afterwards.
Any other questions? So, a big applause for this great speech. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And now we get practical. So our next keynote speaker takes us to South Africa, where she's from, where wine tourism has become a powerful driver for destination building. Stellenbosch, that's where she comes exactly from, is a great example how wine, place, and people, when they work together and when they create experiences, the whole experience is long way from the cellar door experience and create something new. So I'm very delighted to welcome Elmarie Rabe. She is manager of the Stellenbosch Wine Routes, one of the world's most established wine tourism networks. She is based in Capeland, Milands, works with 130 wineries, and they develop a experience that makes Stellenbosch to one of the leading global wine destinations. So thank you that you came the long way and with all the complicated things to getting to Germany, and thank you for your presentation. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. It is really, really great to be here today. And it gives me a lot of pleasure to today share some of the things that we do when agriculture binds people, when it binds the vineyards, when it binds the landscape. So wine tourism, it's far more than just a tasting. It is an ecosystem for us. We work together with many different things, including our communities, to present a compelling visitor experience. And South Africa, and obviously particularly Stellenbosch, where I'm from, is a great example of some of the transformation that can happen when the region understands how to combine product, place, and people. We're going to start at the beginning. We're going to set the scene, how wine tourism came about. So obviously we all know that it started with vineyards. Then after some time, producers starting open cellar doors and wine tasting and wine sales experiences. Then wine routes came about, so the structured network that can pull people to different areas and share resources. That in turn developed into tourism destinations where we pulled in food, hospitality experiences to make a destination. And nowadays it's a whole ecosystem. So it's not only wine tourism at a cellar, it is events, it is the whole brand identity or regional identity that is framed around wine and around wine tourism. Where it started in the beginning of time, Europe were the first. We saw that Germany started the Weinstrasse in around 1935. After that, France and the rest of Europe followed. I'm sure you all know the Weinstrasse or the Rue de Vin. And then the New World followed. And then, in fact, in the late 60s, some of our Stellenbosch producers were traveling around France, and that really inspired them so much that they came back home and they said, we're going to start a similar network. So what happened in 1971, the Stellenbosch Wine Route was founded by 3 gentlemen. We started with 8 farms on a route, so in other words, with placemaking, with maps, with guides, and very rudimentary, but this was the start of salad or visits with cheese platters here and there, but really the start of wine tourism in South Africa as we know it. That grew now, today, into 23 functional wine routes across 3 provinces of South Africa. The majority of these routes are situated within the Western Cape, and wine tourism is definitely, as Anya had said, the lifeline of what we do and the lifeline of our economy. When you look at wine tourism in South Africa, it, especially obviously in the Western Cape, wine tourism represents about 17% of the total turnover of a business, and in really small businesses this goes up to 26%. I know Gergely said that you should close your business if this is the case, but this is excluding wine sales. So this is just the additional business that comes in through experiences and through experiences and food. So in many cases, it is the way that people should go. It's a strategic and economic motivator. So wine tourism for us works very well. It contributes billions of rands to our local GDP. It creates about 11,000 jobs in season, so when you get a lot of seasonal workers working at the farms. But the wider wine tourism economy, including restaurants, local businesses, communities, everybody that feeds into the economy, it creates about 40,000 jobs. So you'll see in South Africa with our landscape and our where we are from, that is really, really important. So we say the wine ecosystem or the wine tourism ecosystem reaches full potential when wine anchors a broader, interconnected ecosystem. Visitors engage deeper and stay longer. So the more they can do, the longer they stay. The building blocks of any wine tourism offering or wine tourism region. Number one, we start with the physical attractors. That's the landscape, it's the architecture, it is the vineyardscapes, it is the building, it's the mountains, it's everything in the area. And visitors fall in love with landscape long before they fall in love with wine. The next building block is to make sure that you create experiences around the 4 E's, and they are educational experiences, aesthetics, entertainment, and escapism. Like Gergely had previously said, educational components is becoming more and more relevant in wine tourism. People want to learn more about wine, they want access to cellars, they want access to winemakers, they want to blend their own wine, they want to go on a vineyard tour, they want to understand the terroir. So that's really a strong educational component. Aesthetic is the beautiful stuff. So it's the landscape, it's the art, it is the architecture. So make sure that whatever experiences you design includes those aspects, the beautiful stuff, the Instagrammable stuff, the social media stuff. Entertainment, festivals, harvest events, concerts on a farm, live music on a Friday, sundowner sessions. These are all the entertainment aspects that can be included, and then escapism. So people come and visit your farm, they visit your property, they visit the region, they connect with nature, or they want to connect with nature, they want to go on a cycle ride, they want to become part of nature. Yoga in the vineyard is a big thing now in South Africa. Then the next building block are the supporting infrastructure. So more and more wine farms are getting restaurants on the farm. Sometimes it's their own businesses, but sometimes it's outsourced. So you get a chef or somebody from outside to run a restaurant on your farm. Accommodation on-site lodgings helps people to stay longer and not only do a few hour or a day visit. Transport access, so it's connectivity, routes, making exploration effortless. And then last is wayfinding. It's signage and guides that encourages discovery and exploration. And then lastly, the soul of any wine region or wine route is the authentic stories. It's the heritage, sustainability, not only of nature, although regenerative agriculture is making more and more grounds now. It's more relevant, it's more in the forefront, but it's also about looking after the people in the area, about looking after the communities, and about making sure that we remain economically sustainable. And then last is the regional identity. When we work together and we can form this regional identity around wine, that is the last building block. So now I actually want to take you and show you what wine tourism in South Africa looks like.
What is the perfect wine experience? Is it perhaps who you share it with? Is it the perfect blend of moments? Or the places it takes us to? When it comes to wine culture, there is no place like South Africa. Just about the bottle. It is more about the places and people involved. It runs in our roots, in our soil, in our mountains, in our oceans. It is in our heritage. When you pick your next wine destination, make it South Africa.
Cool. So how do we get there? How do we manage to bring that to the forefront? Number one, best practice from our wine region is collaboration. The most powerful lesson that we can learn is when we work together, we grow faster. So there's an African a proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And that is certainly what we have been doing, is to grow, to go together, work together. The ecosystem in our region is that no one farm is a destination. In Stellenbosch, we've got a network of 130 farms belonging to a wine route. The wine route works very hard at placemaking, marketing, collaborating, putting together, or building the whole ecosystem and the ecoscape that is wine tourism. Regional storytelling. I don't know what's going on there. So essentially what we do, so apart from the farms and the wine routes, we work together with a network called the SA Wine Routes. We've got a very active South African wine organization. We've got Wines of South Africa that is here promoting the wine side. We're working with all kinds of association-based bodies to make sure that we can take wine tourism forward and that we can take our region forward and our message forward. So the key here is destination competitive and sustainability hinges on tourism business and destination managers working together. And we have to work together to go further. The next building block is the perfect winescape. There you go, or protect the winescape rather. We all have architecture, we all have mountain scenery, we've got cultural landscapes. My sound is disappearing. We all have mountain scenery, cultural landscapes, and architecture, and the vineyards. And this is critical as the backdrop of wine tourism, that we protect these elements, as much as possible. So we, the Stellenbosch Wine Routes, also have a big advocacy leg where we negotiate with government, where we work with local municipalities to make sure that we protect what we have, protect viticulture, protect our landscape. So I think the best takeaway from this is experience innovation. You have to innovate to go forward. You have to innovate to grow. You have to innovate to stay relevant. And in terms of experience innovation, you have to make sure from a regional perspective and a brand perspective that what you offer supports your regional brand. You must make sure that you are complementing the people next to you and that your stories connect with your USPs and your showcases. Here are a few of the innovative experiences that we've been offering lately or where people are growing into. And these are wine safaris. So South Africa is known for Big Five and going on safari. And we have now turned it around and said we take visitors into vineyards on a safari vehicle. There's art in the winelands. There is cycling routes. Wine and food is a big motivator. And then obviously the sustainability, where we look after our environment. We take stewardship thereof, and we are making sure that what we leave behind is perfect or great for the people who come after us. In order to create the best visitor experiences, you have to understand your visitor. In South Africa or in Stellenbosch, about 50% of our market are local visitors, and 68% of them are the new wine travelers called millennials. For them, what they want or what they prioritize are experiences, authenticity, sustainability, and social connection. And when we talk about social connection, it's not only about your product being running its own social media channels or being visible, it's also about what other people are saying of you. Social media is one of the most powerful channels that we can use, and what other people are saying of you. So make sure that what other people are saying of you is correct and is positive. The next thing is to understand the future modern traveler, and I think digitally fluent has been spoken about a lot today. Experience driven, food curious. That's the fastest growing sector of wine tourism. People want food led experiences. They want to see more food and wine. I often say, or always say, that food is a bridge that builds a journey from nothing to wine. And then nature seeking is what we speak about, escapism. People want to go out in nature and they want to enjoy these things. The next chapter, it's a continuation of that, authenticity, wellness experience, and food-led tourism. That's one of the biggest growth sectors of wine tourism, and something as a wine tourism operator or somebody that's getting into wine tourism, that's definitely something to note. United Nations, World Tourism Organization, so creating good wine tourism experience requires work on 3 main points, and that is connecting travelers with a destination's history, tradition, strengthening gastronomy, and one of the destination's major assets. Good example of tourist destinations that are effectively attending to these aspects are South Africa and Napa Valley. So definitely sort of leading the way. In closing, 3 lessons from wine tourism. Experience. The most important and critical part and takeaway from the South African experience. Collaboration, working together with each other for the greater goal of wine tourism, and working together with Wine Routes and other local structures. And then protecting the landscape. That is critical, as the landscape is the heart of your value proposition. And it's about building the ecosystem with wine, accommodation, experiences, wellness, food, while you are looking after the environment. So our lesson is clear. Wine tourism success emerges from the powerful intersection of the fantastic wine, beautiful landscape, innovative experiences, and strong communities. Visitors do not only travel to drink wine, they travel to experience a destination. And that is me with 55 seconds to spare. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please raise your hand if you do not want to take the next plane to South Africa now. I take your flight, by the way, back. You stay here a little bit longer. So, are there any questions? I don't see one. So, as we are a little bit running out of time, I would say thank you very much. It was a fantastic presentation. And
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity.